Hey flower friends, this is Pam, Flower Patch Farmhouse, and today I'm going to take you on a tour of the roses of Flower Patch. Right now many of them are in full bloom for their first spring flush. This is June 9th. It's a coolish day after we had a week of 90-degree temperatures. This week it's cooled down. Today the high is 60. Tonight we're supposed to get down to 34. That's just crazy for even in the mountains in June. So anyways, my roses are blooming so pretty right now, and I wanted to share them and highlight them rather than just doing an overall tour. Though of course I will have an overall tour as well. So let's get started on my roses that are blooming right now in my garden. Both the secret garden, side garden, not both, but all three. Secret garden, side garden, and front garden. Let's start right with this one. I'm sorry the sun could be so bright. I'm going to try to adjust it so it isn't too terribly bright on you. But this is my Princess Alexandria of Kent. Just look at this beauty. She starts out kind of a peachy color. You see some have already gone over, but there's some pretty buds here. And it's blooming beautifully, even though it's still in this container. It's a nursery container. It looks like probably maybe a 10-gallon. But this was in the ground. It wasn't doing so great, but that was from the gophers nibbling on it. But again, Princess Alexandria of Kent, and this is a David Austin rose doing beautifully. You will notice some damage like on my roses. None of them are perfect. I don't use any sprays, etc., because I want to be pollinator friendly. And no matter, even organic sprays can wreak havoc on pollinators. So that being that, let's move on to our next rose. I'm sure you can see this down here. I think I probably put it in the wrong spot, but this is Pretty in Pink Eden. I am thinking I will go ahead and dig this one back up. I was hoping it would climb this back fence, but this one's never gotten that tall. So I'm thinking maybe that's its nature. So I'm going to dig this one up. It's just too gorgeous to be hidden by other things. And I'm going to plant it at the base of my Zephyrine drone. I think it'll be pretty. The Zephyrine drone, the base can get a little bare, and so I think this would be really pretty there. And it's where that is at, it probably will just thrive. So that's my plan with this rose, but it's just beautifully blooming now. You just can't see all the blooms, and that's why I'll move it. My James Galway is up on the fence. Let's move back. Whoops, back. And it just has the one bloom on it, but this is one that once it gets started, it just blooms and blooms, and it will climb up this fence and do beautifully here. Along the fence down here, let me move you over and point you down a little bit. That is not Rains de Violets. It's, oh my goodness, I'll have to put it up on the screen because it's escaping me at the moment, but it looks very much like Rains de Violets. It's not a super prolific bloomer, but it is very pretty. Oh, it's anyways. I just can't think of it. I hate that when I do that. My poor peach tree behind, I know this is about roses, but it is so loaded, the branches are nearly breaking. I gotta get out there and thin that thing. So anyways, let's go back to the roses. Down here, looking down. This is right here. This one is my grandmother's hat. It's a pretty pink. It's planted in here with the Olivia Rose Austin. Right now I have this pot moved right in the pathway. It was shading the lettuce. Right now the lettuce is doing great because it's cooled down so much. Last week it was looking wilty. I have been picking on this. We have eaten salad after salad, which is a good thing. But I'm going to have to cover it next week. We're supposed to get super hot again. Behind it, doing beautifully, is Hyde Hall, another Dave Austin. It's in a pot itself as well because of the gophers. I'm trying to get a handle on them. You'll hear a lot about them usually. For a while there, it looked like I had maybe eradicated them. Now I'm finding a few signs of them out front, so that means I still have them. So the battle continues. So along the arbor bench, let me see if I can go up. That is my iceberg, and it's just doing beautifully. It is in a pot as well. So it's a little bit more tedious to water constantly, making sure the pots are watered. As soon as I can get them in the ground safely, I will do so, and they will just thrive, I'm sure. Sometimes, though, the ones along the back of the deck there, that is right now what's blooming is the Champneys pink cluster. But if you look really close, you can see one in there that is a darker pink, and that one is 16, sweet 16 or 16 candles, that's what it is. And that one's starting to bloom, but look at that Champneys pink cluster. I mean, it is just covering everything back there widely, and it is in a pot. But the pot is sitting on the ground and it rooted down through the bottom, so I know it's rooted in the ground as well. So the same with these pots, they could do the same. So far that's the roses. I got one more to show you. Oh no, a couple more to show you back here. Let me move forward. So down in this pot here is my Coliette. It was blooming beautifully. I had to trim it back because it came from a very warm environment or store where the temperatures are warmer to here, and we had a cold snap. It still bloomed a little bit. They were a little rough looking, but now after it's good prune, it's putting out shoots, so it should bloom beautifully again later. And that's the most beautiful pink and prolific bloomer. I just love that thing. It's new to me this year. Again, it's in a pot. You can see the pot, the terracotta pot down below. And hopefully it will do fine. In another video I had stated I was going to put it right in the ground and risk it, and then when I pulled up the pot that was there, it was a big gopher tunnel, so I decided against that. So right back here is my Sentimental Rose, and it's been doing beautifully. I need to deadhead the ones that have faded, but I have found this one bloomed all summer long last year, as long as I kept it deadheaded and well watered, and it's in one of the plastic nursery containers too, but it's hidden by the other plants, so it just will stay there because it does great, and as long as I keep it watered. I had it in the ground for a while. The gophers ate it. I almost killed it. Put it in the pot, and it regenerated more roots and is doing beautifully. So I think that is all the roses back here. Let me turn around and look. Yes, I think that's it. I'm going to take you to the side. Before I take you to the side, there's a close-up of the sweet 16 candles rose that is blooming now alongside the Champneys pink cluster. Now this one is Rainsday Violets, and it's still in its pot. I almost lost it. Again, eaten by the gophers. So it's recovering after I potted it up here, and will continue to do so. This one too, I need to put it over here. This is the one that I did the video on, excuse me as I go in front of the camera. This one is the one that I showed you how I dug it up, what it looks like, and then repotted it, and it's doing beautifully. This one is Candyland. It's a climber. Now you notice on here they have not desiccated, but little tunnels or whatever, skeletonized leaves, and that is from sawfly. It's either pear sawfly or rose sawfly. I had them on my pear tree, and I noticed them on my roses. It's ugly, but it won't kill the plant. Now, if I was diligent and hadn't been so busy, I could have come out here and squished them as I saw them. You can just squish them on there and help eradicate it. But like I said, I don't use sprays, so I have to put up with that. They only hatch in the spring, they're done, and then whatever's regenerated doesn't have that skeletonized look. So let's look beside the studio here. This one, I have to say, is pitiful right now because I haven't really secured it well. It's still blooming beautifully, but I was pulling these away because we're going to get my studio painted, so I need to do a different type of structure to support it. So I will probably get some metal obelisks that a local nursery has that are really pretty, but you don't see much of the obelisk once the rose starts blooming, so it's very unobtrusive. And I think I will get those because it holds it away from the studio so you don't get the black mold look from it being against the building. So right here's another one, same as this one on this side. This is the other side of the door, and that one's blooming beautifully as well, except it's tied a little bit better to its support, so it's not flopping everywhere. It's also not growing as tall and gangly. They may be a little bit different, or they may be the same rose. I'm not sure. These were planted here in a hurry as I was moving things. They sure look the same. And the one on the right may be just more gangly because it gets more shade than this one. So let's move around to the porch stairs. So right here is my climbing rose. This is a vintage rose from my grandparents' house, and my husband dug it up for me. It was out by their well house. We have always called it my Grandpa Newt rose because my Grandpa Newt used to sit on the back porch that faced the well house, and when that rose was in bloom, he'd always point it out and ask us if we had ever seen anything so pretty. So, brings back memories. Now on the corner there is my Crown Princess Margareta rose, and it's not really a climber, but in the United States, because of our climate, many David Austin roses will act more like a climber. So this one always wanted to get these long canes, so I just decided to tie it up. This one needs a little more support. I'm pulling it down because we are getting the porch rail painted soon. So I need to find something other than the porch post to support it on. So let's go a little bit further up. Oh no, beside the studio I have a rose for you. It's kind of hard for me to see, but this one is Ambridge. And it's doing beautifully. Another David Austin rose. I love the chalice shape of the flowers, the blooms. Let me get a little closer. Just so you can see that. Isn't that pretty? Just does beautifully over here. Right beneath it is some Canterbury bells. I'm not sure what color they will be. I'm hoping they're white, but whatever they are, I will enjoy them. I just think they're a beautiful flower. Now my Ambridge rose does need some deadheading, but it continues to bloom all summer too. And I can see it when it blooms up by the window. I can see it from inside my studio when I'm painting, and that's always fun. Here is one of my favorite roses. This is Jubilee Celebration. And it transforms with how much sun and heat it gets, the colors. But this thing blooms nonstop all summer. It's still in the ground. The gophers have left it alone. I don't know why. I did try to dig it up late winter. It is so deeply rooted that I thought, nope, it wasn't coming up easy. So I knew the gophers hadn't been eating on it. And so I thought I'm just going to leave it in place and give it a chance to fight them off, or hopefully my kitties are eliminating enough gophers that they're not doing as much damage. That's all I can hope for. So let's go behind my new Love Song rose. Just gorgeous. Let me move in closer. This one, I don't know if you could tell, but it is lavender. A gorgeous lavender. Let me point that towards the camera a little bit more. Get in here. But look at the shape of this. I don't know which one is in the camera better, but look at that. This is my Black Barlow Columbine, but look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? This thing also blooms. Look at the healthy leaves coming on. This one was my mom's, and this one next to it is one I bought to put with it in this barrel, so I'd have a real big showpiece bush of that color. It is really a pretty lavender. So it may, excuse my alarm. So let's hopefully it will do well here. I'm going to turn you around behind me. So we have this one, I don't know if it's Kiss of Desire or Passionate Kisses. I can't remember which one. It's a climber right here. I had it out back and the gophers were eating it, so I put it up here. My Zephyrine Drone, which you've seen in previous videos. Let's see if you can see it up there. But it's blooming along the eave. Now this is the one I said I would plant my other one at the base of, because you can see, let me see if I can walk around here gently. it's kind of bare at the base. And right now we have the white foxglove and the iris there, but when they're done blooming, this is, like I said, kind of a bare area. So I think that other rose, if it grows shorter, would be perfect right with this one, because I could actually grow them together and have blooms lower down as well as higher up. So that would be a great companion planting. So over there is my Nearly Wild Rose. And that one needs to be dug up because it stays shorter. And the tall plants around here kind of obscure it. So I need to dig it up and put it somewhere where it gets the views it deserves. It's a single rose, but just really, really pretty. So let's move on up to the next one. Look at these. These are the roses that I did a video on that I dug up and put in these barrels. They're test d'Ibervilles, and they have loved it. They have not missed a beat. Look at the abundance of blooms on these things. They are going crazy. The clematis I planted in there is climbing up just fine. The one on this side bloomed already, bloomed very early. I don't know if I'll get a rebloom. I'll have to look up whether it reblooms or not, but I'm just super pleased with how those turned out. Move back over here, get a little bit closer to my Dreamweaver rose. Let me zoom up for you. Isn't that thing gorgeous? And it blooms like this all summer long. And this has a Warsaw Nike clematis climbing it. I need to cut that back. Not Warsaw Nike, I'm sorry, that's Bella walking. So my Abraham Darby rose this year is doing pretty good. That's another one that was really damaged by the gophers, and it's recovering nicely in a pot. I just have to make sure I keep them watered. And I want to show you my other beautiful rose. This is my other Bosco Bell. Isn't that thing just so lusciously full and gorgeous? I love that thing. Now this one, I had dug it up before the gophers got to it. So you see how much fuller it is because it didn't have to try to regrow roots this last year. So it's doing just gorgeous. My others would look just like this if the gophers hadn't eaten on it. Do you see that? That is my Kirsten Polson. That is a vintage rose. It's a single, but the beauty of it is it will look like this all summer long. It will not stop blooming. It's tough, as many vintage roses are, and just keeps on going. It's very easy to propagate by cuttings, which I have done some cuttings. I have another rose in a pot that is a child of this, propagation child. And like I said, it's getting large too, and I need to find a spot in my garden for it. Just the bright color and its prolificness and health, it's worth having in the garden. Now here are my roses in front in full bloom. This is Darcy Bucelle and LD Braithwaite in this barrel. This is next to it is an LD Braithwaite that's still in the ground. So far the gophers haven't bothered it. I've seen less activity this year than I have last year, so maybe they're waning. This is my Hyde Hall. It looks like I need to deadhead some of them so the new ones will flush out. And then this is my Golden Celebration. And in the back is, I always forget the name, Graham Thomas. That's what it is. I try to think of graham crackers. But it's a little bit different yellow. You can see it's a little lighter, paler, a little more lemony than the Golden Celebration. But they're doing beautifully. I put in the drip system into my barrels. I think you can see it down in there. Works excellent. I'm wishing I'd done it sooner. So that's those roses in the front. And here is my Demi-Tasse. There's a whole big long name, Demi-Tasse something, but I just call it Demi Rose. And I had it up front for a long time and it just didn't do well. Then I stuck it back here in the corner by my studio, and it loves it in this corner. And it just blooms away, attracts the bees, and it's a nice foil for this daisy with the long skinny petals. Okay, there it is. Just in full glorious bloom climbing up the chicken house. And when you are over by it, that's all you can smell. You can't even smell the chickens. So that's pretty powerful.